welcome to Conexion. I am your host, Rafael, founder of Wi-Fi Media and host of the Latin Bible Show, brought to you by Tissues. Visit tissues.com. Never deal with those dirty germs again. Our guest today is a founding attorney at a Grande Law Firm where she helps immigrant families live without fear and achieve the American dream. She currently serves as a board member of the Latino Lawyers Bar Association, El Camino College Foundation. Welcome to Conexion, Cynthia Grande.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you're El Salvadorian. We got to talk about that.
I am.
I mean, you're here in LA. I'm in LA. I mean, where do you find the best pupusas? Because I don't know yet. I've gotten to a couple of places, but it's hit or miss. So where do you go to get your, the pupusas that you like?
Well, nothing beats home cooked pupusas, right? So definitely the ones I get from my mom and my aunts. There are a couple. My favorite pupusa place actually just closed down in Hawthorne, so I'm really sad about that. But there are a couple of good places in Wilmington that we've been trying out, and they're doing a pretty good job. So, but I think my top favorite, my home cooked, the ones that we make.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite to make at home?
A simple queso con loroco. I think that is
loroco.
classic.
I love it.
A classic.
I love it.
You can't go wrong with that one for sure. With the curtido and the salsa. It's awesome.
Oh, you're making me hungry. That's it. We're going to stop the show. We're just going to go eat. We're just going to go eat.
Yeah. Field trip.
All right, so let's learn a little bit about you. I know that you grew up as a child of immigrants, specifically from El Salvador, as we just mentioned. And I had saw on your website, your parents grew up in poverty, and they came to the United States to kind of build a better future. What was it like for your family once here in the United States? Like, what was it like for you guys?
It was definitely challenging. I was born a couple of years after my parents immigrated here, but just hearing their stories, I mean, my dad went from like a manager type role in El Salvador to here, just kind of looking for whatever jobs were available. And, what his focus was providing for his family. And, in the process, he had to deal with, discrimination, and just really working, my dad at one point was working 3 jobs, to take care of our family, and my mom as well. So there were definitely challenges, but they have definitely persevered and worked really hard to be able to provide for myself and my siblings, which I'm so grateful for.
Very cool. And that's a lot of the story with a lot of parents that come here, and they try to achieve that dream, and they are just working their butts off to make sure that life is just different for all the kids and those to come. So really cool. And I know that, I'm a parent. Obviously, I had parents who migrated here from Santo Domingo. So a lot of my work ethic came from that. Parents teach a lot of important lessons, but what is the biggest one that you've learned from yours?
I think my dad, both of my parents, but my dad has always instilled in me to always do my best, be my best no matter what. And one thing that I'm really grateful for with my parents is that they've always encouraged me to go beyond anything that they were able to accomplish. So at a young age, I was fortunate that they always told me, "You're going to college. You're going to college." I didn't know what college was, but I knew I was going there. And anytime I feel maybe overwhelmed or frustrated or just don't want to be a lawyer anymore, I just remember their voices in their head telling me, you just have to keep on moving forward and do your best. And, only good things will come at the end of the day when you do that.
I have a question, because when I was young, I actually wanted to be an attorney. And my parents were like, well, my mom, she's a single mom. She raised us. She was like, you should definitely be an attorney because you love to argue and you love to never be wrong. I mean, is that what happened in your case? What inspired you to be an attorney? Were you the one in the house, no, this and that, winning arguments?
It's funny because I was actually the complete opposite. I was very quiet as a kid.
Really?
Yes. I was shy. And a part of it was because Spanish was my first language. So when I started school, they kind of threw me into English only classes and nobody knew how to talk to me, right? So I just ended up being really quiet. But the reason I decided I wanted to be a lawyer was because in third grade, we had that assignment, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the weekend before, I had just watched Saturday morning TV, Saved by the Bell, and it happened to be career day on Saved by the Bell. And my favorite character, Jessie, said that she wanted to be a lawyer one day. And so I just wrote like, okay, I want to be a lawyer one day. And I remember my teacher who like didn't really like me at the time, like she saw my paper and she said, oh, you want to be a lawyer? I said, yeah. And she said, oh my gosh, that's wonderful, Cynthia. Like the first nice thing she said to me. And I just figured, okay, well, if this is going to make my teacher like me, it's good for my favorite character, Jessie. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting take.
And I got older and then I figured out, oh, this is what a lawyer does. They get to, advocate for people. And that's something I was really passionate about. So it just kind of ended up working out.
Very cool. So you have 10 years experience. You partner at the Grande Law Firm, or one of the co-founders of the Grande Law Firm. And I know you guys work in like business law, immigration, and bankruptcy. Those are like the three major ones. And you've worked, I think, what is it, over 1,500 families have come to you guys for to solve their legal concerns. You have offices here in Los Angeles, and then you have one in San Francisco.
Yes.
What is the biggest issue that families come to you guys for help?
I think the biggest issue is when families have been here for a long time, 20, 30 plus years, and they finally have built up the courage to talk to someone and ask them, like, what are my options? And oftentimes they have kids that are U.S. citizens that are now old enough to maybe file something for them. So we work with them and see, is there something that can actually be done? Because sometimes there are things that can be done in those situations and sometimes there aren't. But we help the families that are finally, after being here for many years, have decided, I want to try to figure out my immigration situation. And we help them do that.
Okay. So do you feel that's the biggest fear? Because I know that you just mentioned something we've talked about before in our immigration episodes, is that a lot of families or individuals are seeking or having a fear of seeking for help because of risk of being deported or being reported or things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So is that like, and I know that's, it spans beyond just going to an attorney. I mean, mental health, going to a doctor and, even with police issues, reporting things. And do you feel like that's been the biggest fear when you've run into, because I know that's part of one of the reasons why you became an attorney, is you wanted to kind of fight that fear away. Do you feel like that's the biggest fear for people to get help?
I think it's that. I also think that sometimes people are scared that they're going to get confirmation of something that they already know, that maybe nothing can be done. So people want to have that hope, even though they don't ask for help, if you don't ask for help and you don't know, maybe you can still have that hope that there is a solution out there. And the other part is, I think that unfortunately there are a lot of people that prey on the immigrant community and have taken advantage of families, and people hear about that and then they don't want to be another family that gets taken advantage of. So yeah, it's definitely a combination, I think, of all of those different things.
Yeah, that's crazy. I think the one that you just mentioned, that last one, that's taken advantage of, there's a lot of fraud that takes place in immigration law. And a lot of that is people spending a ton of money to people who are, passing themselves off as attorneys or as like people who can actually help with these type of issues. And the next thing they know, their money's gone.
Yeah.
And it ain't cheap.
No, I mean, that's the worst part, right? Like the people that aren't doing that fraud, they're the ones that are charging all of these like exorbitant amount of fees. And then, and then they give people that are trying to do good work, like a bad name, right? Some people will come to me and they'll say, well, I've already spent all this money on all these other people. And I'm like, I know, and I'm sorry, it sucks that happened. But, sometimes, and unfortunately people go through that all the time. And that's why I keep on doing immigration law, because sometimes it can be really heartbreaking work. But I remember that there are families out there that need someone that they can trust, and and I want to be able to be that person for them.
Now, for those Latinos who are just starting businesses, what are the kind of business services that your firm provides?
We do things, foundational things like business formation, drafting basic contracts, things like that. And this really stemmed from the work I did in bankruptcy. So a lot of the clients that we serve are immigrant families, Spanish-speaking families, and a lot of people are self-employed and they find themselves in debt because maybe they didn't set up their business structure in the right way at the beginning or didn't know about certain insurances they need to get, things like that. So we, advise families and help them know like the basics so that at least they can have that foundational piece as they, build their businesses.
Okay, now I know every case is different, and so we're gonna tap into immigration. But I know that you mentioned before that some people may be afraid that there's nothing that can be done. So, what are some of the circumstances that you've run into, or at least just one of the circumstances where, it's really tough for you to get over that policy to be able to help the family out?
I think one of the really challenging scenarios are people who have gotten deportation orders or have been ordered removed from the United States, and then they've been sent back to their home country, and then they come back in. There are some very rare exceptions where that people can still legalize their status, but they're very rare. So, and it's really common, especially I find with a lot of families in Mexico, because it's our neighboring country, right? So people will leave, come back in, they'll get detained, they'll get sent back, and anytime you've had any interaction with immigration, it always just makes it very, a lot more challenging to be able to do something immigration wise to help.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. So let's dive into what's taken place. So in the last couple of weeks, the Supreme Court terminated the migrant retention protocol set by the previous administration. For those who don't know what that is, that's the Remain in Mexico policy. The policy required people who were seeking asylum at the southern border to wait in Mexico while, others, while their claims were decided. So I know that a lot of people hear what's in the media. They'll get on Twitter, they'll get on Instagram. The emotions are high level. Some of them haven't even educated themselves as to what all this means. So what is the next step? Because I know that, like we just said, we see the clickbait, but what does it actually mean for families now seeking asylum now that that's been terminated? Has it been completely terminated? I'm pretty sure it's going to go, I think it was supposed to go back to the Texas courts, from my understanding. What does that mean?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's a win. It's a win, but the implementation and practice, like that's where it's really tough, because the families that this does help, they're in Mexico, right? And they may have access and knowledge, and they may know to ask certain things, at their next court appearance, or if they make it to their next court appearance. So right now it has been sent back, and it's undoing a lot of the work that this program, the damage that this program has done, but that's going to take a while. And unfortunately, to see that the on the court impact, it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while. So it's a win. But unfortunately, I feel like it's just a little bit too late for a lot of families that have been disproportionately impacted by this policy.
So you're talking about the families of the past, like the families of the families coming in now won't have to deal with that because they're not
right. But it's part of that knowledge. So there's a lot of like nonprofit organizations that are on the border, educating families, letting them know what they can ask for, right, and those kind of things. But it's also, so when you undo a policy like that, there's all the training that has to be done with the officers that are like on the ground doing that, and then making sure that they're actually following the new training. And so this is definitely a benefit for new families, right, that are coming in, but it's still not. It's a step in the right direction.
Okay, so for those families, because my biggest concern a lot obviously is the families that are were impacted by this during that time frame.
Mhm.
We've already got a crisis down there. I mean, there's no denying what's going on and taking place there.
Yeah.
Is it something you see that will be fixed by the end of this administration, or do you think it's going to take some administrations to come?
It's going to take some administrations to come. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we only have 2 years of, was it 2 years? 2 years left of this term, a little bit over 2 years.
Yeah.
But and hopefully we'll have more time to be able to continue to do this work. But I mean, we're still, even like with other policies that were implemented in the previous administration, we're still dealing with the ramifications of that in this, and it's going to take a while to undo all of that damage.
I have a question, because I know you're an attorney. This might be a loaded question, and you might not be able to answer this at all, but I'm going to try here to see what is it with not being able to pass some type of immigration reform. And it's not just Republicans, it's also Democrats, depending on what area they're in and all kinds of stuff. For whatever reason, they just can't agree on nothing. Why is that, we can agree on every single social issue here in the United States to at least some point, but we can't do it for immigration?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the bottom line is that there aren't enough numbers on this. It's always been one way or the other. There either aren't enough numbers in the Senate, like there right now in the House. We have legislation that's been pushed through, but it dies in the Senate. In the past, we've had progress in the Senate, but not the numbers in the House. And the thing is, unless you have the numbers on both sides, and then that it's a priority, so there was a brief period of time under the Obama administration where I think those numbers were there, but the priority was healthcare, right? So
yeah, I was just about to say, they had no problem passing Daca.
Yeah.
I mean, not Daca,
Obama,
the American, the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah. But
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's the thing that kind of trips me out. Is like we've had all kinds of major bills taking place, just nobody wants to jump at it. I don't know.
I think, and the other part of it is with healthcare, there were a lot of different demographics that impacted, right? Like, I mean, impacted everyone. With immigration, I think it's narrowly seen as like a Latino issue, but it really, I mean, it impacts all.
But it's not, though.
It's not. But the way it's framed, it's been that way, right? So when you're put into a box, unless there's like a concerted effort to transform the conversation, it's going to keep on being brushed aside, which is unfortunate, which is frustrating. I mean, the last time there was any kind of changes in immigration law were 1996, 97, and it wasn't immigration change for the better. It was actually hurtful to immigrant families. So, yeah.
And look, when we're sitting there having this conversation, this is a Latino show. We get that. And so when we talk immigration, everybody thinks, people crossing the fence, crossing the border. No, there's people flying in here in planes who are coming in on work visas, student visas, and all kinds of stuff. Those visas are expiring. Guess what? Those people didn't come from South America or Dominican Republic or, all these different Latino countries. Some of them are from Russia and India and all kinds of stuff. Immigration reaches a wide array of different people. It just so happens that they always attach it to, people trying to cross over fences.
Yeah. Exactly. And I mean, with immigration, there's so much good that can come out of doing some legislation that will legalize the status of these 11 million families. But it's going to take something
miraculous at this point. Yeah. It's going to take, because both parties have had their power for at least 2 years in their terms. And I mean, that's how we got, Supreme Court the way it is now. So, I mean, it's not like we haven't had the chance from various administrations. I mean, going back, quite a bit. I want to talk about Daca because, that's been going back and forth and back. What is the current state of Daca?
So there's currently, there have been talks that in August, the Department of Homeland Security will release a new rule that should allow the DACA applications that have been on hold for the new DACA applications that were submitted after all the litigation that are now on hold, that those should be allowed to continue based on this new rule. And the idea is that they've put in the language in there so that it won't be as easy to challenge in court. So that's what's coming in August. It's a couple of weeks away, and I'm really hopeful because at least with the people that do have their applications pending, it'll give them the opportunity, this whole new group of students, of dreamers, to be able to get their work permit and get that protection from deportation.
Yeah, because it's crazy. These are some of the most productive people we have. And I just don't understand why they haven't gotten the protections that they needed up to this point. And to have, these things on hold forever.
Yeah.
I'm indifferent to the way politics runs these days. And I'm very outspoken politically, at least vocally. And, I'm kind of in awe with how they've handled, the Latino community from both sides. I'm very open-minded to understand it's a both sides issue.
Yeah.
And, hopefully we get to that point where we have some type of communication and are able to talk about this without all the rhetoric.
Yes.
Put all the politics aside, man. Care about people. That's all I say.
Yeah, you and me both, for sure.
So, Cynthia, what is the best way people can contact you or your firm if they needed your services?
The best way is to check us out on our website. We're www.thegrandelawfirm.com. There's a contact us form on there. You could also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. We're at Grande Law Firm, and just send us a DM and we can get somebody on our team to reach out to you. So, internet is a really great place to find us.
All right, but what about you? If they want to just go and watch how you eat hot dogs, where do they go to do that?
Yeah, so they can follow me at the Cyn Grande. I'm on IG and TikTok. I just started a TikTok. So
did you?
I did.
How do you like TikTok? I'm very curious. As an attorney, how do you like TikTok?
I know. I'm like going for it. It's a really great place to share information, and I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen as a lawyer working with the community that I work with, the families that I work with. There's a lot of misinformation. So I'm like, let me just go out there and share knowledge, and hopefully,
they said that I read a report that, younger generations are literally flocking to like Instagram and TikTok, not so much Twitter anymore, because Twitter's become a hell in a basket. Like nobody wants to get their information without dying there. Yeah. But like TikTok has been the rise in like trying to get information.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm working it, and we'll see. I'm working on sharing more content. But it's definitely been fun to get started.
Definitely follow her on TikTok. I'm curious. I'm gonna go check this out once we get over there. So, Cynthia, thank you for joining us. This was absolutely amazing.
Oh, this was so much fun. Thank you for having me on here. It's been great.
All right, guys, make sure to subscribe to this channel, hitting the button below. For more interviews, follow all the social media accounts at Todowafi, TODOWAFI. And don't forget to pledge on our website, by the way. We're getting ready for Hispanic Heritage Month 2022. We have a great lineup, everything from Indigenous all the way to Afro-Latinidad. And make sure to turn around and be able to go to our Facebook page, because we have our Facebook page just sitting there. Some people need to go there and just say like. So I'm Rafael. This is Cynthia Grande, and we are out.